Don't leave my work area even if there's no work to do. No problemo, boss. I, 28M, work for a major shipping company. At the time my job was to use a towing tractor to find ULDs, big metal shipping containers that go on planes, for our work group to load up with freight. The big problem however was that our company simply did not have enough ULDs to go around, and it was a constant battle against other work groups to get them first. When we finally did get some ULDs, we'd have to stage them in a parking lot until they were needed. One particularly bad Monday there were absolutely zero ULDs to be had and a huge line of other workers waiting for empties to show up. I decided that I'd take 30 minutes to organize and clean up our staging area while my co-worker was in line waiting. It is important to note that normally another worker would do this but he was out sick, and if you don't clean up the staging area you won't have any room to park ULDs. Well, my assistant manager saw this and wasn't happy about it. In his typical passive-aggressive self, he asked, "What are you doing and why is it not getting cans?" I tried to explain the situation but he wasn't having it. Normally when he starts to act like a prick I'd get my manager involved, but he was also out sick. After talking to what might have well as been a brick wall, he stops me mid-sentence and slowly and loudly says, "Do not leave the ULD lot until you have ULDs, you got it boss C." I drove my tractor to the ULD lot, parked in line, and sat there for 3 hours until it was break time. On break I asked my buddy to borrow a book and I continued to sit out in a huge, not moving line for 6 more hours until it was time to leave. During that 10-hour shift I maybe did 30 minutes of work. Tuesday comes around, and you bet your ass I'm ready for another hard day's work. I decided this week would be a great time to read Harry Potter. For the next month of work I literally just sat in a heated tractor reading, snacking, and kicked back maybe doing 15 minutes of work every 2 hours. I kept this up until I took another position within the company. Used to work a small town feed store, and we were the second option when we opened. Maybe 3 customers a week the first month, and 5 a day at the height. Only so much warehouse squaring one can do, so I started bringing in my PS4 and playing on mute in the office. As the store manager and sole employee, I was never caught, but I did put hundreds of hours of Fallout 4, and got paid for it. This might be the first case of MC posted to this group in a week. Well done. Did you Manger ever catch on? Do you need book recommendations? Let us know some of your favorites. I'm a huge advocate of free money. Did 10 years passenger airline cargo, everything from lumping mail to GM. I feel your pain. How was Harry Potter? I worked the bike rental hut at a resort. It was only open for 5 or 6 hours a day and 2 hours of it were for the guided tour I had to lead. Spent most of the season reading. Finished almost 30 books on the clock. Sign of a great boss. One of the boss at my work did this. Sometimes people with something to do would go look for someone working so that they could hang with a friend. Boss saw this as too much fun, and put that rule in place. Now when it's slow, one person works and the rest sit alone idle in their work areas. Really builds morale. ULD equals unit load device. Make sure you get that in writing. If he realizes what's happening, he may try to fire you with cause. And if you have that in writing, doing that will burn his ass. Working as directed. Great job Rabbit, we love you. Not malicious compliance, but 49 years ago I did work graveyard shift at a gas station in an out-of-the-way industrial area. No customers until the bars closed down, then the commuters about 15 minutes before the end of my shift. Spent all night drinking coffee and reading. I work for the government. This kind of sounds like the way the US Postal Service works. You didn't turn off your tractor when you're in one of these holdups. So what you're saying is COVID isn't responsible for shipping delays. But it is responsible for lower-level managers not being there and mid-level managers thinking they have a clue what's going on. Resulting in everything just not working. If you finish reading Harry Potter feel free to join us at Dueling for weekly trivia quizzes lol. How terribly is this company run that they failed to notice the loss of a few hundred hours of labor? You got paid to read. Why would you ever leave? That would have driven me nuts. A few years ago I had a job where we didn't have enough work to do but the boss still wanted us at our desks for 8 hours a day, just sitting there. Can't entertain yourself by browsing the web or anything, just sit there and wait for an email with work to do. Can't read a book. Can't talk to your neighbor doing the same stupid thing. Just sit there and wait for work. I couldn't do it. I quit. Sounds like the railroad. You'd get yelled at for being outside of your work area, so instead of going over and helping someone, you'd see people hiding out on their phones trading stocks, playing games on their phones, napping or reading a book. Being efficient could get you in trouble. They don't want efficient, they want complaint. So you just shrug and do what they say for 8 hours. This happened to me recently, but at a desk job where they didn't monitor the computers. I went in for my 8 hours a day and just surfed the web. This went on for months though, and now that we have actual work to do, it's much harder to find the same motivation I used to have to get the work done. Op reminded me of some old airport shenanigans. I certainly don't miss the can wars, dolly poaching, and fighting in the lot for the good tug. Very jealous of your heated tractor lol. Still work in the logistics endless chain of human suffering, but at least I'm in an office now. Your equipment. Bosses don't like when equipment randomly moves away from the area where it's used. Sometimes a manager has to insist on things like this so that people above him can see that there's a problem. He's trying to convince the higher-ups that only having one person around to clean up that stuff, who is out sick, causes issues. If someone goes and does that job, then upper management says, "What? It's not impacting us, so why is it a problem?" Not saying that OP's boss was doing anything so intelligent here, but I've been in this situation personally, where extra work I was doing for someone was allowing him to look like, to his boss, that he himself was doing it. As an avid reader and with everything available on phone nowadays, I'd love such a job. When I first started dating my wife, she was the sole worker in a community art gallery attached to a church. She would spend a whole day watching videos online and not see a single person. I worked for Domino's back when I was in college, and over the winter our Mondays were absolutely dead. We had to be there at 10 to prep for open. But without fail for over 6 months our first orders on Mondays were always after 5 p.m. So a friend brought in a TV and Guitar Hero, right when it first came out. I went from never having played a game like that before to playing through it all on expert within 3 months. My boss eventually found out but let us keep doing it because she knew we had literally nothing to do. Great boss, she let us get away with too much probably, but that store was fun to work at. I had a software development job that was slow. Every year we released our code on January 1st. All year we worked on it until October when it went to the testers. If they found bugs, you fixed them, otherwise you didn't do anything from October to January 1st. I couldn't surf the web, so one year I brought in my personal laptop and rated and organized all my downloaded music. I also used to download text files of books to read. No one who saw me had any idea what I was doing since we used text files for our job. They would never assign you any other work because they didn't want to lose resources to another team. One guy wrote 3 books while we were working. He was a tech writer without anything to do, so we just started writing his own books. Shit dude, if the pay is good enough, I'd stay exactly right where you are and milk the pay, benefits. Take up hobbies, catch up on reading, shows, call relatives, fucking whatever man. When someone comes up and asks what the fuck you're doing, explain exactly what you said here. I used to teach martial arts at the local YMCA. It was part of their weekend programming and they'd have several things like arts, dancing, etc., going on at the same time. Students chose which programs they wanted to partake. No one wanted to take martial arts. Perhaps, it was because I was the new guy and everyone was already invested in the existing programs. So I'd spend like 3 hours in an empty room, doing whatever I wanted. I worked out, practiced my forms, etc. After a few weeks, I quit. It felt wrong taking money from them when I knew their budgets were already pretty tight. I used to have an office job that took me maybe 2 hours of work a day, mostly emails and phone calls to set up meetings. I had to attend the meetings and take notes, bullshit kind of stuff. I used to do translations on the side after work, but figured why waste all that time at my main job and started doing my translations at work. 2 salaries for my 9-5, those were glorious times. How much weight did you gain, winking face? Kind of reminds me what was happening with suspended NY teachers, not sure if it still is. Being paid to sit around all day. Sitting is worse than not working. Good choice. I'm kinda adjusting to the idea of being paid to wait. I have a government job, which means I'm often stuck behind red tape and bureaucracy, etc. I feel guilty sitting there, refreshing my inbox every 20 minutes, not working, but at the same time there's literally nothing I can do. I was told by my manager that I am basically on call request during that time, which means I still clock in for time spent waiting for work to come. It's only too bad I can't use YouTube on my work computer. It has an awesome quality screen lol. I worked in the mailroom of a NYC law firm. We had 2 daily mail runs in the morning and afternoon, otherwise we were on-call errands boys. I brought a book my first day for the downtime. The boss sees me reading and yells, "I don't pay you to read." I was expected to sit and stare at the wall until I was called on. I lasted a month, but I was much younger and tolerant of stupidity then. Anti-work.